Binding of Isaac fans, rejoice, for I come with fair tidings. Bumbo for the Switch is here, and it is just as addictive as its PC counterpart. Hello indie warriors, Literary Rose here with I Dream of Indie to rave about The Legend of Bumbo on the Nintendo Switch. Developed by Edmund, McMillen, and James Interactive, we return to the pee and poop aesthetics we know and love from the main Binding of Isaac series, but instead of our crybaby Isaac, we take control of the coin-hungry Bumbo. Bumbo's money is stolen, and he embarks on a match 4 quest to get it back, and maybe even more. The Legend of Bumbo is a single-player, turn-based match 3 roguelite that was originally released for PC in 2019, which somehow escaped my knowledge. Across all the Isaac titles, I have over 1,000 hours invested in this series, so I feel like a phony fan for only hearing of this game till now. Nevertheless, it has invaded my life and lives rent-free in my head, and I couldn't be happier about it. First, trigger warning. This game is gross, albeit not as gross as the main Isaac titles. You fling poop, boogers, teeth, bones, pee, all at your enemies, and they explode in a red splash upon defeat. However, you may not find this distressing since the art style for this game in particular leans on a heavily childlike design with its characters and its backgrounds, since everything looks like cardboard cutouts. Grossness aside, this game doesn't have as distressing themes as the other titles, so if that was a deal breaker for you before, you might be able to give Bumbo a shot. The gameplay is both simple and complex, depending on what character you play as. You start as the original brave Bumbo, but as you clear levels, you unlock new endings and new characters to play as. There's a magic assassin Bumbo, blue baby Bumbo, and a ghost Bumbo that I have yet to unlock. No, that definitely doesn't bother me, and I'm not dying to grab my Switch and unlock it. It's fine, I'm fine. Your various Bumbos have different stats, like the different Isaacs in the main series. Some have more health, or less health, some do more physical damage, some do more spell/puzzle damage, some have the ability to store mana across battles, and this makes each run surprisingly different. Don't even think about playing Blue Baby Bumbo like the Wizard Assassin Bumbo, or you'll never make it past the first battle. Each battle has a random assortment of enemies that require different kinds of attacks, and these attacks are performed through matching tiles on the board. You need at least 4 of a tile to make a move. You can throw teeth or bones, which are your standard damage-dealing attacks. Longer chains of bones results in a series of bone tosses based on your base physical damage stat, while larger chains of teeth result in one big strong tooth that you hurl at any enemy. You may want to throw bones first, doing just 1 point of damage if you need to open them up for attack because they have that 1 point of guard, before throwing a weighty tooth and slaying them. Or maybe you're facing a boss whose attack is triggered by heavy hits, so bones are the way to go. If you're facing the toilet roll enemies, you'll want to throw some high damage teeth to eliminate them at once. Otherwise, every point of damage causes them to roll up and you'll have to wait a turn for this enemy to expose itself again. Or maybe you do want to do 1 point of damage because you can't fling any boogers or poop to defend yourself. So you throw a bone, it rolls up, and when it was gonna hit you, now it's not. Or maybe you have an enemy that is resistant to all physical attacks, so you have to eliminate them using spells. More on that in a bit. In terms of defensive options, you have boogers and piles of poop. The boogers block the next attack if an enemy is primed to hit you, which makes it useful for last-minute saves. The piles of poop act as barricades, remaining on the spot on the map until they're destroyed by an attack from an enemy. You can stack the poop so you make it into a stronger barricade. I cannot believe this is a description I am doing of a game. To regain some health, although I found this to be a rare occurrence, you can match the elusive heart tiles. There are spells and trinkets that can increase your chance of getting heart tiles, but overall this is more like a Hail Mary, once in a blue moon kind of tile matchup. I even found myself re-rolling the few heart tiles that I ever got because getting a matchup of poop or boogers would have been more useful in the long run than a quick health gain. Finally, in a sort of in-between category, you have P to match, which adds another move to your total for that round. A long chain of P tiles could add extra moves, or buy you more time to see if you can get a more favorable line of defense or attack. This is vital because you have a limited number of moves that you can make per round depending on the Bumbo character you have chosen, as well as including or factoring in any upgrades you might have obtained after completing a level. You can match tiles by moving rows and columns in any direction. Left or right consumes one move, up and down consumes another. But be careful in your selection. The controller joystick is not your friend for this game, so do not release your hold on the column or the row until you're sure that's how you want to slide it. Now, these tiles do more than just unleash boogery defenses or toothy attacks. They build up your mana, which is used to cast different spells. Each character has some preset spells that come with them, but you can override these if you want to with new spells that you encounter along your path. And you also have several slots in addition to expand your spell casting repertoire. Some spells unprime enemies about to attack, buying you more time to build up your defenses. Some spells randomize a type of tile, or can change a tile to a wild tile that can match anything. There are more spells that I have time to recount to you, but really the most important part to remember is that they cost mana. Mana is gained through making matches, so you want to think short-term and long-term for your matches. Perhaps you choose to attack with bones more than teeth because you have 4 bone mana that you can use for a particular spell that you have in your repertoire. So whatever matches you make, you want to think short-term and also long-term, how am I gonna enact this spell or that spell, or get me to clear this enemy. In between battles, specifically in between the main levels when you clear a stage, you have the option to spend coins you have earned by defeating enemies. You can spend 15 coins to spin the stat wheel, which gives you a permanent stat upgrade depending on what the wheel lands on. It could be an extra heart for your health, improved luck, another move for each battle, stronger physical damage, etc. These are the most important upgrades in my opinion. You can also spend your coins at the shop, which offers improvements to your spells or Heart of Health. These improvements are things like reduced cost of a spell, so you need less mana to cast it, or increasing the damage a spell does. Finally, your last shop option is the Skull Gambler that Isaac fans will immediately recognize. Pay 5 coins and 3 skulls will be swapped around. 2 of them are holding an item or boon of some kind, and the other one has nothing. The risk, of course, is if you waste those 5 coins and you get nothing, but sometimes if you are lucky and you roll the dice skulls correctly, you can get yourself a special trinket you can't get anywhere else. In between battles, you can get a kind of special room with a seller wearing a crown, except they're not a seller, and they offer free items specifically too. It can range from trinkets to spells, and you can swap this in and out at your leisure, or skip it entirely if you already have a strong setup. And I think that covers all of the gameplay mechanics. The Legend of Bumbo performed perfectly on the Switch, but I kind of hate controller for this because of my butterfingers. Handheld is actually a fantastic experience, the pick up and play quality that is great for on-the-go gaming, or just a quick round in between tasks. For settings, they're limited to the standard, adjust the volume, the sound effects, etc. If you're concerned that Legend of Bumbo is going to be just as difficult as the main series of Binding of Isaac, I'm here to tell you it definitely isn't. At least for me. I found it way less challenging, but it can throw you some curveballs if you don't take your time planning your moves. Difficulty also depends on what character you chose, as well as what conditions you're trying to meet. As I mentioned at the start of this review, the visuals are designed to appear like cardboard cutouts with the signature Isaac hand-drawn, messy-ish style, which I personally find infinitely charming. It ties in even better with this cardboard cutout aesthetic, and all the various menus and movements of enemies on the map are easy to understand through the visual organization on the screen. I will say though, that the sound design of this game left me wanting better. Despite the incredible Bumbo end credit song that had me giggling, the music was more like a repetitive version of the same tracks from Binding of Isaac. It's not bad, but for someone who has put too much of their life and time into the original series and heard those tracks again and again and again, that kind of dark, rockish tunes, I've had my fill. I would have liked something a little bit different, a little more spicy. The Legend of Bumbo is a fantastic Match 3, or rather Match 4 roguelite that, while not as groundbreaking as the original series, is incredibly fun and worth your time.
Thank you so much for supporting clickbait-free content here at I Dream of Indie. We would now like to take a moment to shout out our brave indie warriors and legends that help to make this channel possible. At the Indie Warriors tier, we have Bill, Christian Cruz, Adriana Amato, CJR, PSC, Julian Colbus, Jesse, Ray Lynn, Marky Mint, Dave Hart, Peekaboo, Lex Noyle, Chic Geek, and Solaru C. At the Indie Legends tier, we have Jen Rose, Larkison, Mitchell Hall, Skeptism, Nathan Moore, Chris Jackson, Mr. W, Blue Francis 14, The Beefarinis, Business Cody, Chiron, Jace Glover, King of the Hatch, Ophidian Mind, Lord Metroid, and C. Coyle. Thank you so much for all that you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Everybody else head down to the description box below. Let's defeat the gaming echo chamber and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.